My husband abandoned our family, and I didn't hear from him again until he landed himself in jail. And after receiving dozens of threats, I bailed him out. In return, he ruined my life. I thought being a single mom would suck until I fell in love with my son. When my son was just 5, his dad abandoned us. I woke up one day and he was just gone. No text, no call, no conversation. Luckily, he was a deadbeat, so the difference between his presence and his absence was actually close to 0. I was still the sole earner of the household. My main concern was my son. He was one of those kids who thought his dad was some undefeatable superhero. Plus, growing up, I had a lot of friends who were part of single-parent families. And, well, most of them turned out really funky, if you catch my drift. But it really seemed like my son was different. When I told him his dad left to go to work for Santa Claus, he nodded and said, "That's okay, Mommy. I know with you I can do anything anyway." My heart melted, and I knew I had given birth to an angel. From then on, me and my son became best friends. One time, for his 7th birthday, I couldn't afford to host a birthday party for him. So instead, he hosted his own. He invited everyone from his class to the park, and one of his friends brought a cake. After he blew out the candles, he pulled me aside and asked, "Mommy, do you feel sad?" "No, honey. Why do you ask that?" He scrunched up his face like he was thinking super hard and said, "Because we didn't do anything for your birthday, and all these people are here for mine." I just lifted him up and twirled him around. I assured him it was his day, and he deserved to be celebrated without worrying about me. He just shrugged his shoulders and ran back to his friends, and he should have been enough for me, but he wasn't. One night at 3 a.m., I found myself clutching his dad's, my ex-husband's, old hoodie, and I thought about how it felt to have someone's arms around me at night, to know someone has your back, no matter what, to have someone to lean on. Usually I try to stifle the tears and blink them away, but since it was dark and I was alone, I thought it was safe to let myself cry. So I cried. A lot. I could feel my face throbbing from how hard the tears were coming out, and apparently, I woke up my son. Except I didn't realize it until he came in and asked if everything was okay. I immediately plastered on a huge smile and told him I had just finished watching The Lion King and was thinking about Mufasa's death. I assumed he had bought it, because he immediately nodded and trotted back to bed. But the next morning, I woke up to the smell of burnt toast. I went downstairs and saw my son had tried to make me breakfast. My plate was loaded with strawberries, charcoal black toast, and some raw spaghetti noodles, his favorite snack. He told me there was no reason to be sad, because he loved me. I hugged him until he couldn't breathe. I knew he was the love of my life, my beautiful son. And as I sat down eating the charcoal toast with a smile, I got the text. It was a photo from an unknown number. The text was a link from the county sheriff's website. His dad had been arrested. I wasn't even surprised. I knew it was probably for substances. But when I read the charge, my eyes literally popped out of my head. Authorities had found content on his computer, and whoever was texting me wanted me to pay bail. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours, but was probably only a few minutes. Jamie was chattering away about his plans for the day, completely oblivious to the bomb that had just exploded in my world. The text was from an unknown number, but it had to be someone who knew Mark and me. I couldn't wrap my head around what I was reading. My stomach churned and I nearly vomited right there at the kitchen table. My first instinct was to block the number and pretend I never saw it. Mark was out of our lives, and he deserved to rot in jail for what he'd done. I deleted the text and tried to focus on Jamie, who was now explaining the intricate rules of a game he'd invented. Jamie had always been creative like that. He could literally turn a pile of rocks and some sticks into an entire imaginary world, with complicated social structures and everything. His teacher even mentioned it during our last parent-teacher conference, saying he had an extraordinary imagination. An hour later, another text came through. "This is Richard."